Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union, along with Denisha Boston Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand marketing and digital agency.
We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview some of the top business leaders in the industry.
And I'm very excited because helping provide us some empowerment today is Leanne Burgess. She's the founder of Social Vibe Marketing. Leanne brings over 15 years experience in business to business marketing, e-commerce, and sustainable business practices. She's also recognized as an elite group of one of only 55 LinkedIn certified marketing experts globally. So pretty cool stuff. Welcome to the show, Leanne.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're really excited to have you on. Such cool stuff going on, and we're gonna get to that. But first, I just want to talk with you about how you began your journey. Like, how did you get into going into marketing? Why did you choose this route?
That's a really great question, and my journey has been so nonlinear. I actually was going into healthcare, but early on, I studied marketing in high school. Actually, one of the professors, he was a professor here, Stephen Crampier. He was my college. I had a college class in high school for marketing. It was in DECA, and I always loved it. So that always stuck with me. I did pre-med and environmental bio in college. And, after years in healthcare, I started a family. And we wanted to do a family business. And so with that, we did these e-commerce sites and we had to market it. So kind of, dug deep into my old marketing background and, we just started out that way. And so the marketing kind of took off and just kind of speeding through after getting divorced. I just, went down to what I really enjoy doing. And I always loved marketing. And so I just launched the business at that point. Wow.
Still pretty courageous to just change direction like that and launch something totally new. Now, I know a lot of folks say they're in marketing, and I'm using air quotes. What would you say is like the biggest misconception about you being in marketing?
There's probably so many misconceptions when it comes to marketing. I think a lot of times, I'll just give a few from experience. There's one thing I always say is that like cookie cut strategies never work, and people kind of put marketing in a little box of like a one size fits all kind of approach. It doesn't work. And also like marketing is like only for sales, where it couldn't be further from the truth, because you really need marketing for building a brand and your brand recognition and reaching people. So that part is so important. But there's so many misconceptions around marketing.
Absolutely. It's like an onion or a flower, like petals of a flower, so many layers. And so tell us, Leanne, your journey with Social Vibe Marketing, how did that begin? How did you get on that track?
So post-divorce, I had to get, realize I have 3 kids to raise. My kids were really young. My oldest was 5. My youngest wasn't even 2. Wow. It was difficult. And knowing that I have to be the main person to raise the kids, what do you do? And I had like every challenge against me. Where do you have time? Where do you have time to stay with your kids and raise them? But then also you have to work, and living in Long Island, you have to make, you have to make a living.
More than a living.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's, yes.
3 kids on Long Island? Woo. I'm in your world. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really just took off, mostly word of mouth. And I'm still at word of mouth as far as getting referrals for new business. And it's just, it's been a great journey so far.
No, that's fantastic. I feel like everything is a vibe right now. So that your name in itself is totally like top of mind, and not a trend, but truly just a way of life.
So that I started 10 years ago, and it was like a play on words in a way. So the social vibe part, I wanted to connect it to social causes, and not just like social as in social media or being social with people. It was more of, I want to do things that I care about and tie that back into the business.
That's such a cool differentiator. And it's funny because, it does mean both things. Mm-hmm. So it fits in perfectly. I think that's great. So tell us a little bit about the services you offer and what type of businesses you're looking for.
So over the years, I worked mostly with tech businesses, startups, and like service-based businesses. Right now, my main focus is really in the B2B space. Brand recognition, brand building, brand marketing, because it's so important. And then, of course, I have my tie-in with sustainability and just helping people with more like sustainable business practices, and then working with companies that are aligned, same kind of like-mindedness and that.
Yeah, I want to dig into that a little bit more because I think that's a wonderful part of your personal branding and your personal story. And what's really wonderful about it is that it is a genuine thing. It comes from a genuine place, and you've just kind of grown that. And that's all part of your storytelling, which takes you through LinkedIn. So I'd like you to kind of connect those dots for us and for the listener.
Okay.
How that kind of evolved.
So, okay. I've always loved sustainability. My degree is in environmental bio, so I've always cared about, the environment and what happens around us. It's so important. Right. So that's always been part of me. So that's one part of it. The LinkedIn part, probably about a year and a half ago, I started leveraging it more and go, I'm just going to like post about things I really care about. And that was sustainability. That was workplace culture, that marketing, of course, branding, and just things that aligned with me. So I was able to make some really great connections on LinkedIn with like Ocean Integrity, which is one that you saw yesterday. I am their CMO now. And they have such an amazing mission where they're removing ocean plastic and recycling it. And it's so important. Without the ocean, we would not be here. It's super important. So something like that, I've always had that deep connection. It just makes so much sense. And it's like, I'm just very passionate about it. So that was a connection made on LinkedIn. So in my, making sure I'm posting what I care about, you become a thought leader, as we kind of touched upon, based on your experience and your background and everything like that. So I was like asked to do talks in like sustainability, all from LinkedIn. The LinkedIn part with the LinkedIn Certified Marketing Experts came about kind of organically as well. I saw they had these different certifications you can do to be a certified marketing insider with LinkedIn. I'm like, well, how great would this be if I can get these skills so I can help clients? And that's my approach, is how can I help somebody else? So I did all these certifications, and you had to attend quarterly workshops, and I went to one in person, which I ended up meeting a few of the people at LinkedIn and became ultimately friends with them. I have like my little LinkedIn family. And then end of last summer, they had a, kind of an opening for the Marketing Experts program. And you essentially apply. You had to get references, do a video, and they choose 30 people globally. So I was lucky enough to be chosen. And so that's kind of like how this all came about. So I was able to connect with all these different people on a global scale, which was great. We have an amazing community. And we all help each other out. We're all in touch with each other pretty like frequently. So it's great.
That is such a serendipitous thing. I mean, but it also builds upon something here. So, and I feel they're related. Now you're a CMO of Ocean Integrity. So congratulations, a very recent development for you.
Thank you.
But that happening, and also your work with LinkedIn, it's building upon these relationships.
Absolutely.
And that's coming again from a genuine place.
Relationships are so important. And like, I can't stress that enough. I'm not somebody that would just connect with someone on LinkedIn so I can sell them. I've never had that approach ever, because people don't like to be sold to. People like to buy, but they don't like to be sold to.
Right.
But when you have the approach of how you can provide value to somebody and how you could help, those relationships do build organically too. And that's basically how my whole business has evolved, is basically, how can I help somebody?
Sounds like you're not slipping into Messenger, sending them messaging through LinkedIn. And that's what people really get scared of, like, how do I connect with people? How do I create relationships in this digital world? But I don't want to be, told, like, I want to buy something immediately. And so you're doing wonderful things. And so can you tell us about Ocean Integrity for those people who are out here listening and may not be aware about the work you're doing?
What they do.
So I just started with them, although I've known the owner, Kieran Kelly. He's leading this whole global initiative for years. So there's different ocean integrity entities across the world. There's like one in Africa. There's one in Mexico, Netherlands, Iceland, UK. And so they all have like their own initiatives, but we all have the same mission, which is really to save the ocean. And there's plenty of companies who claim they do it, and there's plenty of greenwashing that happens. But this is actually all transparent. Everything's logged and transparent on the blockchain, so you can actually track and see where plastic came from. So there's a big push on just helping to like also hire indigenous fishermen, where they would get more than a like living wage, where they wouldn't make that type of money in their day-to-day, in their country. So doing this is a positive social impact for these indigenous fishermen and people, but then also doing something great for everybody. I mean, you need the ocean, so it's so important.
Because the impact, the ripple effect of this is really pretty astounding. I mean, if you think about it, so you're helping this business, you're helping the employees, you're helping the folks who are living in those areas and they need jobs. You're helping the impact in the ocean. I mean,
it's full circularity. That's it. It comes full circle. Yeah. It really does.
And it brings your company, Social Vibe Marketing, full circle to what you're doing now. So it's all connected. So that's really cool.
You are listening to Tara Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill. And our guest today is Leanne Burgess, founder of Social Vibe Marketing. So, Leanne, can you tell us a little bit how you do your work and how you, because a lot of what you do is also mentorship.
Right. So I'm also part of a few nonprofits. So one, for example, is Long Island Women in Tech. We have over 800 members. So that's really where like the mentorship part started, where we would help women who wanted either like transition careers or want to get more into the tech space. So sometimes that would be like on a one-to-one basis, where it's like, all right, well, what are you looking to do? Maybe they're facing certain challenges in their life or their career. So it would help put them in touch with other people who can help them and maybe be more of a direct mentor with a different company. Try to help them understand like what their actual passions are and where they're looking to go. I do the same thing on LinkedIn as well. So the Marketing Expert Program, I've had people reach out. And again, it's globally. They'll reach out and say, well, how did you get into the program? And can you help me? And they'll ask questions and stuff. So I'm very open on that front and will help really anybody on that. I'm always happy to talk shop when it comes to helping somebody better themselves.
Well, and I think really that ties a lot into your business. So what you do, you're a connector. And what happens when you make those connections is that you form these relationships. Because you're doing so in a genuine fashion, it's funny, you do the you make these connections, they start working together, and then eventually it does turn into business for you. Although that's not the reason you're doing it.
Right.
I do find that kind of, you can take that strategy and put it into anything, and it works. Kudos to you for doing that. We'd like to talk a little bit more about some of the accomplishments that, and I know you and I have talked about this, we love talking about other people and how wonderful they are. You have a lot of accomplishments, I think, that you can be very proud of. So I'd like you to share, some of the accomplishments that you're very happy with in your career.
I have to start with my kids because they've been my biggest motivators for everything. And I think going through a difficult time like divorce and then being a single mom, and then starting a business, and then trying to help other people when, like, I put myself kind of like low on the list of priorities, and that's like my biggest accomplishment. I don't want to sound like cliche, like, oh, my kids are my biggest accomplishment, but they really are, because if not for them, it would not have pushed me to the point that I'm at. So everything I do always ties back to how can I make their lives so much better, and how can I be a better parent to them and providing them with a great life. That's like a huge, huge part for me. Yeah. Everything else is really, I'm completely serious when I say this. Everything else has evolved super organically just by, reaching out and building relationships and building a sense of community and seeing where you can help people and connect people to help them. It's all come around, and we talk about the full circle. It's all come full circle.
Yeah. So you gave birth to 3 motivators, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, she's CMO at work and CEO at home.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're mom and chief of those of the children and motivating them for greatness, and so that's fantastic. So tell us just about some of your social responsibility side of the work you do with B1G1 Innovate Africa.
B1G1 is Buy One, Give One, it stands for, and it's a really great organization. I found 3 years ago. The thought behind it is that businesses and people can participate in micro-giving, so it's not like you have to spend or give thousands of dollars to actually have an impact. You can do these micro donations and tie it to business objectives and support different projects that ultimately support the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It's quite impactful when you see, hey, you know what? If I were to skip my latte today, that means I can provide like 300 days of clean drinking water to children in Cambodia. You think about something like that, and it really puts things in perspective. So I signed on August 2021 with Social Vibe. If I had a new client come on, I would tie that to specific giving to support these different projects. And it spans like all the 17 SDGs. So it could be something in healthcare or clean water or life on land. There's all different types of projects. It makes it so it's easy for businesses to take part, and it's affordable, but it has a huge impact. And the thought is, if you have many people making small little like donations, those small impacts make a much, much bigger impact globally.
Yeah.
So,
and you see that kind of thing done all the time. I know I do a lot of work with Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and they have programs like retail programs with Walgreens, for example, where, just rounding up your purchase. And we're all kind of familiar with that. And I know I'm always like, yeah, sure. And my kids are like, I'm ordering Taco Bell last night. And she goes, wait a minute. Don't ask me why I was at Taco Bell last night. She says, why you always round up? And I said, well, because it's for a good cause. And it doesn't hurt me to do it. So why wouldn't you do something good if it doesn't hurt you?
And it's great too on that organization where you can see the impact you're having. They'll give you updates on specific projects. For instance, there's one in the U.S. where you could rescue meals from restaurants, and it goes to the homeless. So you're helping in 2 aspects, really. I mean, you're helping to reduce food waste, which ultimately helps reduce carbon emissions, and then you're helping people who need to eat. It's so impactful, and it's like such a simple way to do it.
Yeah, totally.
So that's one. And then I'm involved with AI in Nigeria. I'm on the board for them, and that and Innovate Africa as well. And that's really to help communities in Africa. There's a ton of opportunity there, and I think that it's not maybe from this side thinking about Africa. It's like, all right, well, maybe it's overlooked, but ultimately, trying to build up those communities and help have a better economic impact over there. So right now they're developing these different communities to bring people together and to help advance technology and innovation there.
That's just fantastic. Yeah. So many different ways that this makes a huge impact. So what are some of the things that, going to go back a little bit to LinkedIn, what are some of the different ways that you're involved with LinkedIn? I know that there's a marketing group, but are there other ways that, one can get involved with LinkedIn in similar fashion to what you're doing?
Getting involved with LinkedIn, I mean, just leverage that platform. There's over 1 billion users. Your audience is definitely going to be there, 100%.
Right.
Just be authentic. Put what you care about out there the most. That's how you establish your thought leadership. Talk about your unique perspective and your experience and connections. It's so important. Like I say, it'll build relationships, make connections. It's a great community. So on the business side, that's what I would say about that. On the marketing side, there are a lot of communities like the Certified Marketing Insiders where you can get some LinkedIn intel, which is great,
Okay.
and especially on the marketing expert side too. We also have a really great community, so we all keep in touch. There's 6 of us from this last cohort in the United States, and we're in touch on a weekly basis. Really help build such a great connection between us.
Well, I think that's also building your team. To me, I think that that's something that's even more important than what you necessarily do. One of the lessons that I feel like I've learned, and you seem to have learned it too, is that if you build a team around you of folks who know certain things or subject matter experts, that makes you a valuable commodity.
You gotta know who to go to.
You're a resource.
And I've done my fair share of my matchmaking on a professional scale where I might not have that expertise. I know who I could reach out to, or I'll partner with other like agencies. Like Polar London is one who they're great. I could expand capabilities by referring business their way.
Well, tell us a little about them.
I actually met the owner, Alex Birch, on LinkedIn.
Wow. See?
It all comes back to LinkedIn. I mean, he had reached out. We connected. We're both agency owners, so it just makes sense to connect with other like-minded folks. And I had traveled to UK twice this past year. I had went back at the end of January, and I said, I'm going to be in London. Let's meet up, just have a conversation. So I traveled to his office in Hackney Wick and had a great conversation, and just a great person. Get to know somebody. You could see they're very genuine and work with integrity and get a good feel about somebody. And so understanding like what they excel at and what their agency is known for, it's definitely helped. I'm actually doing an introduction with them today and a company here. So all about those connections.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Leanne Burgess, founder of Social Vibe Marketing. My name is Danisha Boston Hill, along with Ray Schwatz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Get a little personal here. On the ADHD side of things, I know for me, I'm always looking at all this content, and there's so much content that's out there that I'm always looking for all right, well, the headline catches me, and then I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. So let's go with a headline for you on marketing. What are the best practices? Maybe if you can give me a top 3 or a top 5. Don't limit yourself, but what are some of the best practices with regards to marketing for companies?
Be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Number one.
a very straightforward one.
Mm-hmm.
Provide value. Understand your customer. That would be something that's important, because if you don't, you can't really help them.
Mm-hmm.
Be very transparent with people. I guess that ties back into being authentic.
Being authentic, yeah.
I've seen plenty of marketing agencies who are not and take advantage, and that's something that I always take in consideration when working with somebody new. They've been burned before and they've been lied to, and some companies make it seem like marketing is this what's the word?
Disingenuous?
This mystified thing.
Okay.
It's
There's magic to it.
Yeah, we're going to do your SEO. It does take time. It does.
Sure.
But I've seen it so many times. And these companies are building on volume and numbers and that. So they'll get someone in, have them a few months, and they leave because they're not getting actual results.
It's a vacuum.
Yeah.
Money.
Oh, yeah. And that's such a turnoff for me, because I'm no, I'm in this to actually help people, and I want to see people succeed. So that is something that is so important. Just be you know what? I like to educate clients along the way. This is why we're doing this, and this is the results that we're looking to get out of it. So that would be a big one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And that way you're having the person who's in front of you, because all you want to do is help the person in front of you be better. And the way that they're going to be better is if they understand your process and they actually invest in it as well.
Right. There's some companies that are I don't need to know how, just get the results. I'm no, but I want you to understand how. Like, even if on a small scale, like, let's just talk about why we're doing what we're doing, and understand the tactics that we're using to help build your brand or help reach your audience or help bring in more revenue. That to me is really important.
Now, is there anybody on your wish list? Like, have you looked at companies where you're like, I really want to work with them? And if not, is there a type of company that you really want to work with?
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Well, it's funny because I always would say like LinkedIn. Like, I would love to like work with them on like a partnership type of relationship. And
you're kind of doing
and
that.
I am in a way. So it's like I'm answering it, but I'm like, but I am involved with LinkedIn. But something like that, I could see where there could be more value, like if even like tying into like ocean integrity, because there's, like carbon credits and plastic credits and that kind of thing where they can offset, partnering with a company like ocean integrity. So like I think of, maybe like that ripple effect, like how can that tie in and help ultimately? But LinkedIn is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think not to be a LinkedIn commercial necessarily, but
yeah.
I would say what I really like about LinkedIn is that there is a professional veneer. I mean, you do get folks who, spam inbox you or whatever, and you're like, okay. But you can see that a mile away.
Right.
Whereas I feel like with social media, generally speaking, like Facebook, Instagram, like it's become an area where it's not as productive. And I feel like with LinkedIn, it's a much more productive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Partnership. So as we come to a close, what is the one thing you want to make sure that you leave our listener with, and also make sure that you give us your contact information?
Sure. I think my biggest takeaway from being a single parent, somebody who started in building a business, and then I'm doing other roles aside from that. I wear many hats. I would say that if you're going through a very challenging time, it gets better. Stay positive. Don't listen to people who are negative, and just find your circle and your community of people who will support you.
I love that. All right. Leanne, thank you so much, and give us your contact information, where folks can find you.
Find me on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm very LinkedIn focused. You see my cup here, LinkedIn.
Yep.
Leanne J. Burgess on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Easiest way to find me.
Thank you for joining us, Leanne. I'd like to leave you with DB's philosophy. Marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but about the stories you tell. Seth Godin.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Denisha Boston Hill, your co-host and producers. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.